Okay, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's both fascinating and a little bit freaky. We're talking about AI, but not just any AI. AI that can go head to head with the best human minds in, get this, machine learning competitions.
And when?
Yeah, win, I know, right? Like, what is this? The Terminator meets the Matrix? But seriously, AI battling it out in the digital arena of data science. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it? But this is the reality we're living in. Researchers have been working on this, and they've even created a way to measure how well these AI agents stack up against their human counterparts. It's called MLE bench.
MLE bench, huh? So is that like a digital fighting cage for AI algorithms? How does that even work?
Okay, so picture this. It's actually way less dramatic than a fighting cage. Think more like a giant online testing ground. They pulled together a bunch of real-world machine learning challenges from Kaggle, which, by the way, is known for having some seriously tough competition.
Okay, Kaggle, I've heard of that. It's where, like, data scientists go to prove their skills and maybe win some prizes, right?
Exactly. Companies and researchers post their toughest data problems on there, and whoever comes up with the best solution wins. So it's not just some theoretical exercise. These are real-world problems with real-world implications.
Got it. So, high stakes. So they set these AI agents loose on Kaggle, and what happened? Did they choke under pressure, or did they actually manage to hold their own against the human competition?
They more than held their own, they sometimes beat the human competition. The top performer, an AI agent powered by a language model called O1 Preview, was able to achieve a medal. We're talking bronze or higher on average, about 17% of the time.
Wait, 17%? How many competitions are we even talking about here? Because that seems, like, shockingly high.
75 different competitions in total. And these weren't like easy peasy challenges either. We're talking about a diverse range of tasks. For instance, predicting how the mRNA vaccines would degrade over time. That was one. And get this, deciphering ancient scrolls, like something out of Indiana Jones.
Okay, deciphering ancient scrolls. That officially just blew my mind. So we've got AI out there cracking ancient mysteries and solving complex scientific problems. This is getting real. But let's address the elephant in the room here. How do we even know these AI agents aren't cheating? Like, are they secretly Googling the answers or something?
That's a fair question. Researchers thought of that, and they've actually implemented safeguards. They've limited the AI's access to outside information during the competition, so no Googling allowed. Plus, they use plagiarism detection tools to make sure the AI isn't just copying code from previous winners.
Plagiarism detection for code. That's a thing. How does that even work?
I know, right? It sounds kind of wild, but it's similar to how plagiarism detection works for text, just a bit more complex. It's not just about copying and pasting. It's about recognizing patterns and similarities in the code's structure and logic. Think of it like there are only so many ways to build a house, right?
Sure, you need walls, a roof, some plumbing, the basics.
Exactly. Code's similar. There are standard ways to approach certain tasks, but if an AI agent solution is suspiciously similar to a past winner's code, it raises a red flag.
Ah, so it's like, hey, that looks a little too familiar, busted.
Pretty much. And to be extra cautious, they even have another AI GPT-4, which we've talked about before, analyze the logs from each attempt to look for anything fishy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having an AI detective double-checking their work.
Okay, that's both impressive and kind of terrifying at the same time. AI policing AI. This is getting meta. But before we spiral down that rabbit hole, let's rewind a bit. You mentioned these language models, like the O1 preview one. What exactly are those? Are we talking about some secret coding language I've never heard of?
Not exactly a secret language, but you're on the right track. These language models are a type of AI that's been trained on massive amounts of text data. Think like feeding an AI every book in the Library of Congress and then some.
Wow, information overload.
Basically. But that's how they learn to understand and generate human-like text, and in this case, even code. So O1 Preview is just one specific example of a language model that's particularly good at this.
So it's like giving an AI a crash course in coding and problem solving, but instead of textbooks, they're devouring the entire internet.
You got it. And they're not just memorizing information, they're learning to apply it in complex ways.
My mind is officially blown. AI competing in data science showdowns using code they didn't technically write themselves. Is this the future of machine learning?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one we're going to unpack right after the break.
All right, so before the break, we were talking about AI agents basically moonlighting as machine learning engineers and not just like dipping their toes in the water, they're winning competitions, but how are they doing it? Like, What are these AI agents actually good at?
It seems like they excel in areas where there are like established solutions. Think of it like baking, right?
Okay, I'm intrigued. I love a good baking analogy.
So, imagine you're trying to bake a cake. A novice baker, they might struggle with the recipe, trying to figure out the right ratios, the oven temperature, all that. But a seasoned baker, they've got those classic recipes memorized. They know the techniques that like consistently work.
Okay, so are you saying these AI agents are like those seasoned bakers? They're pulling out tried and true methods from their massive database of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was this one competition focused on optimizing delivery routes for a company. And the AI agent, it recognized this classic problem. It's called the traveling salesperson problem, by the way.
Oh, right, the traveling salesperson problem. I remember learning about that in like a computer science class once upon a time. It's like finding the shortest route to visit a bunch of different cities,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And it's a really tricky problem to solve perfectly. But there are algorithms that are known to work well. And this AI agent, because it had encountered similar problems during its training, it knew to apply this one algorithm called simulated annealing. Basically, it pulled out the right tool for the job, just like that experienced baker would know which recipe to use.
So it recognized the problem and was like, boom, time to whip out my trusty simulated annealing solution. That's wild.
It really is. And it speaks to how much these language models can learn and apply their knowledge in different situations. But just like that baker who might panic if you ask them to, like create a completely new dish from scratch, these AI agents, they're not perfect.
Okay, so what are their weaknesses? What are the things they struggle with?
They haven't quite mastered debugging or adapting to like really unusual situations. Those are the moments where human intuition and experience are still super valuable. Like a human engineer, they can often sense when there's a bug in their code, even if they can't immediately put their finger on it. AI hasn't quite cracked that intuitive debugging code yet.
Right, so they're still a bit robotic in their approach.
Mhm.
No aha moments for them when it comes to troubleshooting.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're also not great at thinking outside the box when it comes to resource limitations.
Hmm.
Like imagine that baker again. But this time, they only have half the ingredients they need or their oven's not working
Boy,
properly.
that's my nightmare. My baking skills are already questionable at the best of times.
Right. A human baker, they might be able to get creative, substitute ingredients, adjust the cooking time, make it work. But these AI agents, they tend to hit a wall if they can't just follow a predefined solution within the given constraints.
That's really interesting. It's like they have all the ingredients for success, but they haven't quite mastered the art of improvisation in the kitchen, or in this case, with code.
Perfectly put.
This whole thing has me thinking, if they're already this good, how long until these AI agents are the ones creating the recipes, not just following them?
It's a question a lot of people are asking, and it leads to a much bigger conversation about what this research really means. Because this isn't just about AI agents winning medals. It's a glimpse into a future where AI plays a much bigger role in shaping the world of machine learning and, honestly, probably a lot of other fields too.
Okay, so let's talk about that bigger picture. What are we looking at here? Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. AI agents are going toe-to-toe with human machine learning engineers, sometimes winning, sometimes falling short, but always pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But I think the big question on everyone's mind is, what does this all mean? Where does it go from here?
Well, for one thing, I think it challenges this idea that machine learning is this, like, exclusively human domain. These AI agents are proving that they can tackle these complex tasks, and that opens up some really interesting possibilities for the future.
Right, because it's not just about AI replacing human jobs, is it? It's about AI augmenting human capabilities, helping us solve problems we couldn't solve on our own.
Exactly. Imagine AI working alongside scientists to accelerate drug discovery, or helping engineers design more efficient renewable energy systems.
Okay, now we're talking. That's the kind of future I can get behind.
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's be real, there are always two sides to every coin. What are some of the potential downsides here?
Well, one thing that we have to be very cautious of is the potential for unintended consequences. Like, we're talking about incredibly powerful AI systems here, and if we're not careful about how we design and train them, they could end up optimizing for things that we didn't anticipate, which could lead to unexpected and potentially negative outcomes.
Okay, so like instead of, say, helping to cure cancer, the AI accidentally creates a superbug that wipes out humanity.
It's not always going to be that dramatic, but you get the idea. Like, let's say an AI is tasked with optimizing traffic flow in a city. It might prioritize speed and efficiency above all else, which could result in routes that disadvantage certain neighborhoods or create more noise pollution, even if those weren't explicitly part of its objectives.
So it's like that old saying, be careful what you wish for. The AI might be doing exactly what we told it to do, but that doesn't mean we'll like the results.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of transparency. As these AI systems become more complex, it can be harder to understand the reasoning behind their decisions. And that lack of transparency can make it really difficult to identify and correct any errors or biases that might creep into their processes.
So it's not enough to just create these super smart AI agents. We also need to develop ways to understand how they're making decisions, kind of like being able to look under the hood and make sure everything's running as it should.
Precisely. It's about ensuring that we're developing AI in a way that aligns with human values and goals, which requires ongoing research, open dialogue, and a lot of collaboration across different fields.
It's like we're entering a whole new world here,
Hmm.
uncharted territory, and we need to be mindful, responsible explorers, right? But with all that said, where do we even begin? What's the next step in this whole AI-powered machine learning adventure?
Well, I think research like this MLE bench study is a really important step in the right direction. By putting these AI agents to the test in these real-world scenarios, we can start to understand their capabilities, their limitations, and where the potential pitfalls might lie. And that knowledge is going to be invaluable as we move forward.
So, informed exploration is key here. We need to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible while also being mindful of the potential consequences.
Absolutely. It's not about fearing the future or trying to stifle innovation. It's about ensuring that AI development benefits humanity as a whole. And that requires careful consideration, collaboration, and a commitment to ethical development practices.
Well said. And for all of you listening out there who are now equally fascinated and slightly terrified by the prospect of AI competing in data science showdowns, what's the big takeaway here? What should they be thinking about next time they fire up their favorite AI assistant or scroll through their social media feeds, which are basically curated by algorithms most of us don't fully understand?
The future of AI and machine learning is being written right now as we speak. It's a future full of incredible potential, but also one that demands our attention, our critical thinking, and our active participation in shaping it. We need to be asking tough questions, having open and honest conversations, and working together to ensure that this technology is developed and used in a way that benefits all of humanity.
That's a powerful message, and it's definitely given us a lot to think about, from AI agents battling it out in Kaggle competitions to the future of work, the ethics of artificial intelligence, and even the very nature of intelligence itself. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. But as we always say, the conversation doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. And the most exciting and perhaps even a little bit daunting aspect of all this is that we're all part of shaping this future, whether we realize it or not. So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, keep asking those tough questions. Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.